Hello?
Hello. All right, we're just about to get started. If everybody could make sure they're on mute. The Congresswoman has arrived. Okay, I wanted to thank the Congresswoman Bonnie Watson-Coleman for attending tonight. As you can see, there's a lot of people that want to talk to you here. So we're very excited to have you. I'd also like to thank her staff. We have Mike, Delara, Jordan, Jarquiza, and Carla here tonight helping the Congresswoman. We do have some elected officials tonight. I'm not sure how many of you guys made it. Did Assemblyman D'Angelo make it tonight? I don't see him. Mayor Lisa Kinnear, Mayor of Cranbury, is here tonight. And we have Township Committee members Iman El-Bedawi and Barbara Rogers. And Middlesex County Democratic Vice Chair Beatrice Moskowitz. And I'm Laura Zerflu. And with me is Gabby Sadot. Gabby, she sit down. And we'll be moderating tonight, and we're with Indivisible Cranbury. Thank you so much. So for those of you that are not familiar with our group, our mission statement is to promote and advocate for values of social and economic justice, equality, and environmental justice. To be a group with a sense of community where our members feel welcomed and valued. We work together in a meaningful manner with impactful results to create opportunities for all members to contribute in ways that best fit their interests, abilities, and times. So we are a group dedicated to advocacy. While staying true to our mission, we affect change in 4 ways: education, legislative advocacy with elected officials, electoral campaigns, and coalition work. While we are part of the National Indivisible Group grassroots movement, and we adhere to their principles, we work independently on national and state level issues and concerns. We do have some information, some new members booklets. I only have a few, but if you're interested in joining at the end, you can come up and see me. And we have an email, we have a QR code right next to Township Committee member Iman El-Bedawi right there. Or you can email me at indivisiblecranberry@gmail.com if you're interested in learning more or getting on our email list and learning about our meetings, which are the 3rd Thursday of every month. So the format of the town hall tonight, we do have a lot of members on the virtual web. But we also have a whole lot of members here. And what we're going to do for questions, since I know a lot of you probably do have questions, we're going to distribute index cards. And if you have a question, we'd like you to write it on the index card. Put your name next to it if you want to be the one to ask the question. And we'll call on you when your question comes up. And for those of you that are on Zoom, we're going to ask you to use the question and answer. If you look at the bottom of your screen, there is a button that says, actually, I don't see the question and answer.
Here.
What's that?
Type message here.
Just you go ahead and use the chat if you have a question. I think that's easiest. If you look at the bottom, you'll see the chat function. The Congresswoman will be presenting what she wants to talk to you guys about, and then after that, we're going to be doing a question and answer. She's going to be very generous with her time, I know, as she always is with her constituents. We would ask you that if you have a very specific question, a local question, a detailed personal question, that you reserve it and speak with her staff or email her staff. We will be sending out a follow-up email after this with that information for how to contact them. We also have her staff here, and they can give you that information to contact them also. So we want more general questions that would be more applicable to everybody. Okay. I'd like to introduce Representative Bonnie Watson-Coleman. In the United States House of Representatives, the continuation of a career in public service advocating for the needs of New Jersey families and the equitable treatment of all people. Her work in the House centers on her belief that in the United States of America, there's a floor below which we should never allow any child, any family, or any person to fall. The first black woman to represent New Jersey in Congress, Watson Coleman is a member of the Appropriations Committee and Budget Committee, and as the chair of the Democratic Caucus's Task Force on Poverty, as a House Democratic Deputy Whip for Policy, and she serves as a member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus's Executive Board. Welcome.
Yes, I do. From here.
You will be seen on the camera.
Wherever you want to be comfortable.
Lighting across her face.
Are we good? Am I good?
You've got lighting on.
Is the light bothering you?
No, it's
It doesn't look good. She should be back. Yeah.
It's better for her job. So you're not gonna have to worry about this.
Okay, here we go.
We good?
Yep.
I'm so delighted to be here. You want me to move over further?
You should, because this lighting on her face.
Oh, jeez.
There you go.
I am delighted to be here, and I want to thank you. Can you hear me? Yes. I want to thank you for being here. There's a lot going on, and we need to talk about it. I have a few things I probably want to just share with you, let you know what I've been doing, and then hear from you. We use these as an opportunity for more than one reason. Number one is you got to know that we're fighting. That Democrats, even though we're in the minority in the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate, that we're trying our best to connect with our constituents and to encourage our constituents to talk to their friends and families in other states, particularly in red states, to let them know what is actually going on. To be able to talk about the budget and the implications of the cuts and things like that that are being proposed. To let you know that we're using every tool that we have institutionally to slow down some of the things that the Trump administration is doing. We're happy that the courts are engaged.
Yes.
But to be perfectly honest with you, scared to death, what do we do if he's going to ignore the Supreme Court?
Yeah.
So here we are today, and now he's talking about the Federal Reserve Chairman, that he cannot wait for him to leave. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not an alarmist. I am a very optimistic person. I'm a very faith-based person. And I try to do the work that I think I'm called to do. And that is to make sure that government is upholding its responsibility to all of our citizens. But I want you to know that right now, I don't think we have to worry about losing our democracy. I think we're that close to having lost it. I honestly God believe that he is functioning as a dictator. And that's why it's so vitally important for us to be able to get out to talk to you all. Because I believe in this country. I don't believe that this country has been perfect, certainly not to women, certainly not to people, minorities, certainly not to people who are native to this country. But we were the best damn country that there is. And we have a constitution and we have rights. And we have the right to freedom and to express ourselves, to expect to live in decency and in peace. And right now, I think that domestically, we're in such chaos. Now, for the president to blame the Fed chief on the tariff for the chaos created by his tariffs, to look very closely at what his tariffs do, to recognize that every country was named in his tariffs except for Russia, and then to recognize that he'd given himself, or Congress gave it to him, the authority to negotiate down these tariffs if they come to him with whatever it is that they want from him. This is not democracy. When we see that people who are legal residents of this country picked up off the street, detained, simply because they were students leading a protest or speaking against something that is happening, we don't have to agree with everything someone has to say, but we have to respect the right that they had the right to say it. And that you don't get picked up, detained, and moved out of your outer range of your family simply because you've articulated a position that this administration does not support. And that is what is happening to us now. And so people are wondering, what are Democrats doing? We always seem like Democrats are reacting, that we're not being proactive. Well, I'll tell you, a little of that is true. And that's because this administration has moved so quickly on so many different levels at the same time to dismantle our system of government and checks and balances that you've got to respond to what is before you. I am grateful that the courts have slowed down the firing of people illegally. I am glad that the courts are saying you can't just shut down this office, this department, this entity. It is not even yours to do. But I am concerned that we're at a point that represents what is a constitutional crisis. And then what do we do? What do the courts do? What does Congress do? What does it take to get Congress to decide that it's going to take back its power and be the accountability that it's supposed to be? And that's where we are right now. So let me just say, domestically we're dealing with a budget that is very hurtful to working families, to older people, to children. We look at his proposed cuts to in the budget of $880 billion to the Commerce Committee, directions to the Commerce Committee. You can't achieve that number without doing something negative to Medicaid or children's health care. They're proposing another $230 million to take away from food nutrition programs. You can't do that without harming working class families who are just trying to put food on their tables. You cannot stop the kind of research that has made us a worldwide life-saving entity for cancers and other diseases simply because you want to put that money in the hands of billionaires in the form of tax breaks. But that is what is happening in our country right now. It is happening through our budgetary process. It's happening in our legislative process. The SAVE Act. The SAVE Act passed the House. The SAVE Act is very difficult for women who changed their names since they got married to register to vote. This is a voter suppression bill. It's going to the Senate. We pray that the Senate will knock it down, hopefully. But this is a time where this government that is of, by, and for the people is energized by the commitment of the people. We've seen over the last couple of weekends really quite robust demonstrations with the hands off. Thanks to organizing in this environment is very tough. So Indivisible and all of the organizations that have been showing up and trying to organize people on our behalf need to be recognized and need to be supported. We were encouraged to see the kind of showing that we saw over the weekend on the hands-off rallies. We've also been encouraged by seeing these organic protests showing up in red states around issues. People are paying better attention. We're encouraged when we see that constituents are showing up at the few town halls that Republicans are holding because they've been told to stay away from the town halls. And when they show up, they're being held accountable, that their constituents are recognizing that maybe they didn't think that this administration was going to be difficult for them. Maybe they didn't understand that if you're working class or middle class, that you're not their priority. But you're finding that out when you go to the grocery store. You're finding that out when you look at the proposals to cut down on health care. You're finding that out when you're trying to take away the cap that's on certain medications, including insulin, which is, I mean, diabetes is just like an everyday thing in this country. And you're finding that out when you just want to, you're gonna find out you buying shoes and clothes and toothpaste and everything else is going to be higher, because they have lied to us when they said that they were gonna cut our costs of living.
Yes.
We're not their priority, but we are their accountability. And so I needed to come talk to you so that I could hear the things that are really, making it difficult for you in your home, that have grave concern about how do we get through this. Because get through this we must. We can't turn back, we won't give up. We will fight till the very end, and that is a metaphorical fight. That is not a violent fight that they're so comfortable with. The way this government is supposed to work. And if we stand up all across this country and say enough is enough, then we'll be able to get our legislators, if not our president, to listen. When your constituents say, I'm not going to vote for you, that we're not going to support you, that we're going to run somebody against you, I don't care how much money Elon Musk is going to put into your campaign, you're not going to get elected. You look at the Supreme Court race. He actually went out there to buy that race, and he failed. And that's because we are a country that believes in the rule of law, even if they don't. So I came here tonight, talk to you as long as you want to talk, answer as many questions as I can, let you know the kind of things that we're doing. You know, we're working through our caucuses, we're working through our legislative committees in our groups to push back everywhere we can. We use the tools like motions to recommit to slow down things that the Republicans are advancing. We do things like, I can't even think of it now, where you have to sign up, a motion to discharge. So when leadership doesn't want to deal with the bill, but a majority of Congress wants to deal with that bill, we bring up a motion and we get to sign. If enough people sign up, God bless you, then you have to deal with that bill. Well, so recently there was a proposal to allow women who are giving birth, women who've just given birth, to be able to vote by proxy. One of our members came to vote on that bill with her brand new baby, was a couple weeks old. You know, and that baby shouldn't be there.
Yes.
That baby should not be on that floor. But anyway, the discharge petition passed. So that meant you had to call the bill up. Well, the speaker, who is the little puppet for Donald Trump, decided that he wanted to change the rules for getting a discharge petition moved. So instead of it being a majority of Congress, he wanted to make it 2/3 in Congress. I mean, he thinks we're going to be a mini Senate and use the filibuster to, obstruct. And so we're fighting that issue. And we're trying to use the tools that exist in Congress to do that. But we're dealing with a rogue administration.
Yes.
We're dealing with one that doesn't care about the rule of law, doesn't care about everyday people, and wants to cut vital programs and use that money to enrich those billionaire corporations and billionaire individuals who don't need another dime to live. but middle-class families are paying for everything. The only way it stops, I tell you, the only way it stops is for the people of this country to stand up throughout this country and say enough is enough. Like indivisible, to be our sort of touch point. Our office works very closely with advocacy organizations. My colleagues work very closely with advocacy organizations. You see what Bernie and Alex are doing all over the country. It's amazing. But just showing up en masse doesn't mean anything if we don't take the next steps. And the next steps have to deal with organizing, registering, voting, showing up, promising our legislators, you don't get elected. You don't get elected for what you're doing. And that's not just federal legislators. We've got to be working on the state level. We got to be working on the county level. We got to be working on the municipal level. And we've got to protect our education system. Yeah. Water, and I'm going to shut up and answer as many questions as I can. And I'm going to say to my staff that I give them a million apologies because they've got wonderful talking points. I think that I covered them all.
Do we have questions?
We do.
Lots of them. Do you have cards? All right, we're just going to take a moment to disseminate more cards. We just need to read some of the questions.
He's got two.
Anyone else?
As we move through this next year and a half, though, do we make changes federally? Or as we move through to November to make changes on the state level, we will not back down. We will not let this country lose its purpose and the values that we hold so dear. This Constitution was not something that was just thought up and passed, and it's been refined. It has included people who were eliminated. It has sought to bring legitimacy and equality to folks who hadn't had that opportunity in this country. And there's too much at stake for anybody to think that we will back down. We're not going to back down. We're not going to go into our bedrooms and pull the covers over our head. We're not going to overdrink. We're not going to lay around and not be accountable. We're going to be accountable because collectively we're going to hold those people who have the power that they think they have accountable.
Yes.
So I want us to be optimistic and know that it ain't going to happen.
Congresswoman, thank you very much for coming. And many thanks to the staff I worked with. Terrific, all of you. Some of the questions can be cataloged, but okay, is this better?
Yes.
I haven't even said anything wise yet. Some of the questions could be cataloged, but since they're coming in so quickly, this is going to be like a very on-the-spot trivia. Well, some Democrats in Congress are out trying to get a counter message right. Why are the Democrats in Congress not united as a group, putting out a strong message as one united front? These are not normal times. It seems, as a group, the Democrats seem paralyzed.
So this is a frustration that we hear a lot. And we very much are working on this as a caucus, as a full Democratic caucus. We are united. We're united around principles. The principle of the rule of law, the principle of fairness, equity. We believe that working families should have the kind of salaries and benefits that they need to live a decent life and to make sure that their families are working. We support unions because we know that they make a difference in the quality of life in our communities. We support climate change. You've seen the things that were done during the Joe Biden administration that tried to advance not only things in climate change, but things in manufacturing, things in good energy bills, resources being spent appropriately. That's what we stand for. We've not changed. We believe in a woman's right to have agency over her body. Yes. We believe that if you live rurally or suburban or urban, you still have the right to clean water, clean air, good jobs, decent housing. That's what we stand for. But we're always trying to explain ourselves. And sometimes, you know, we don't embrace little sound blurbs, 30-second sound bites. We try to explain what it means when we say something. And sometimes it's just too damn long. People turn their ears off. But we're very much engaged now in messaging and finding the ways to talk to our various communities. The other thing is that Democrats recognize that we're a big tent. We're a diverse tent. I can't say to you in Cranbury the same way I may say something to you in Ewing or Trenton or Newark. I'm still getting at the same values. You should have decent housing, decent air, decent water. You know, children should be safe and secure. Education should be free and equal, irrespective of where you are. So some of our Democrats are in really tough districts. Some of their districts went for Donald Trump, but still voted for them. And so we try to be mindful of that while we try to hold on to our values of equity and caring and things of that nature. We do recognize that everybody isn't a progressive. Although, you know, I'm kind of sick of that term too, because is Social Security progressive? Is Medicare and Medicaid progressive? Is having unions and decent jobs and benefits and sick pay and family leave, are those progressive? No, they're just decent. You know, so we need to stop labeling ourselves. But we are trying very hard under the leadership of one of the most eloquent speakers we've ever had, and that's Hakeem Jeffries. He's just amazing. Sometimes I want him to kick somebody's you know what, but that's not his style.
That's always, we wish always he would do that.
Yeah, but that's not his style. But we are trying to communicate to you the core values that we think are important and that what we hear back from you.
I have someone online. Helene, can you ask your question to the Congresswoman?
Yes, hi Congresswoman, thank you for coming. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. This story isn't getting a lot of attention yet, but there's reports coming in that the Doge boys are deactivating Social Security numbers. They're creating financial debts for people that are really living. The financial debt means you can't, and the reason that the reports are calling it that is You can no longer access your bank accounts, you can't get credit, your health insurance stops. It's a nightmare, and with all the cuts to Social Security, the Social Security Administration, there's nobody answering the phone, and there's nobody at the, you can't even get an appointment. This is a really big problem. We've got to figure out what to do about it. So what should we, the people, be doing about it, and what can Congress, Republicans and Democrats, do about this?
Well, Congress can do a lot. If Congress were willing to do it, but Republicans would then have to stand up, have some spine and do their job. But I haven't heard that anybody's benefits have been cut or cut off. I do know that they've tried to eliminate a lot of jobs, which makes it difficult for people to reach people. I know that they tried to close an office even in a Republican district, and the legislator just went crazy because his office was being cut. Republicans say that they're not going to mess with Social Security and Medicaid. But they are lying, because they are doing it by reducing the staff that can work on these issues. And we just have to be in their face. We have to be there at their offices. We've got to demonstrate. We've got to stay on the line, keep calling. We've got to call even the secretary. And they've got to recognize that this is unacceptable. And this is unacceptable in every state in the United States of America. So they'll be hearing from their own constituents about the possibilities of having something happen to their Social Security. But it's going to take us, the people, to speak up.
Congresswoman, I'll call your office tomorrow and give them the information about this living people being declared dead.
Please do. Please do. And we will get on it immediately.
Okay, I think, Ed, I think you wanted to ask a question. Ed
Yes.
Livingston?
Yes.
Could you stand, please?
Oh, sure.
You need the microphone. You need the microphone to be heard online.
Thank you.
Good evening, Congresswoman. How are you? Ed Livingston. My question, I'm going to text it out. I'm not going to text it, but I'm going to read it, because I can get a little long-winded. My question is it possible to get bipartisan support between the House and Congress Judiciary Committee to invoke misconduct, unfit for duty, and other impeachable articles for abuse of power?
You're asking, is it possible? Absolutely. Is it probable right now? No. That's why they need to hear from the people in their districts what they're expecting of them. And that's, I'm gonna tell you, that's sad. It's very hurtful what we're seeing happening in Washington. It's very hurtful seeing what's happening in terms of our position on the world stage, on what's happening in between Palestine and Israel, what's happening in Ukraine and Russia, and what's happening with our allies. What are we gonna, we want Greenland, so we're gonna take it. You know, maybe Canada should be the 51st state, so we're gonna make it. You know, this is absurdity we never expected to embrace, but this is what we're dealing with. This is not just headlines. This is real life. And this is not just something, do not think that Donald Trump, I know that he's cognitively impaired. I know that, we all know that. But do not think he doesn't know what he is talking about when he says these things. Listen very closely.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
I wish I had a better answer for you. Possible, yes.
We'll talk.
Legally possible.
There are a lot of questions that I could divide between Democratic Party leadership, standing up, do we have our own Project 2025, who is the leader, where are our leaders, and the second level of questions, did I cover that? I'm trying to consolidate. And the second level of questions, no less important, relate to actual functions and actions of the government and the interference and incursion of DOJ and Trump. And that relates to Medicaid, threats, Social Security, SNAP, food stamps. They relate to the use of the Insurrection Act. How will that affect us as activists? How will it affect regular, everyday citizens and residents who are going out? Can we travel with impunity? And the list goes long, not to mention our data is being harvested. Who is protecting our data?
So right now, the courts have done a decent job in stopping from the glomming up all of our data. But that doesn't mean that some of our data isn't in the wrong hands. And if you saw recently, 21 members or so of the DOJ duties quit because they did not want to participate in what they were seeing. So, you know, maybe there's something that's happening there as well. Can we travel with impunity? You know, I've had people say that Americans who are traveling right now are experiencing not such welcoming from places that they would ordinarily go to. And that's sad because the people are not responsible for what he is doing. But until they see that the people are standing up and pushing back, then they'll have more encouragement from us individually. There's no easy answer to any of this, and there's no quick fix. We definitely have to put our foot down, lift it up sometimes, and make sure that we're standing tall and standing together. Because none of us is safe if any one of us is not safe. You not think that the way you look makes you immune to some of the stuff that they're doing? That's not the case. These are very dangerous times, my friends. And we need to take everything that we see them doing seriously. So serious affront to all of our rights that we took for granted.
How does that impact activism? Just as the follow-up.
Well, you know what? We're seeing more and more activism now. There was a kind of, I think we were stunned for a while, not knowing what was going to happen, how bad was it going to be. And then I think that our organizations, our associations, and our advocates are like, oh, heck no. On whether or not it's women's rights, civil rights, voting rights, access to health care, all of those things. Every one of those advocacy groups are getting together and showing up and protesting. So while it's a difficult time, and you don't know how this administration is going to react as it becomes more activist-oriented, because they have a way of dealing with people they don't like, that is not within the rule of law. But they can't lock all of us up. You know, they can't be with us all if we stick together. And I think we've got to recognize that every one of us has something to do in this time. If it's showing up on a Saturday, if it's writing a letter, if it's making a call, if it's talking to somebody in Florida that we know, or Alabama, or Wisconsin, or wherever, we have a responsibility of trying to get people to understand that this is so serious.
Thank you.
You think?
And this, well,
Where's the Democratic leadership? She asked.
yeah.
Democratic leadership, well, we don't have a Democratic candidate for president. And everyone assumes that the person who ran for president generally takes that kind of position, but that's not happened here. So Democratic leadership looks like Hakeem and Catherine Clark and Pete Aguilar in our House. And it looks like Schumer and Booker. I'm just telling you.
Not everybody here agrees, but we are here in
That's
real.
not fair.
Yeah,
The gentleman has had a very long
Career,
and
yeah.
I absolutely agree about the personal kind of comments that were making about recent situations, but
Yeah.
I'll be more quiet.
And, you know, and
No.
he thought he was doing the better thing. That was a missed call, because the House and the Senate should have been together in this. And that was a budget we should not have voted for. We should not have allowed. But just like when the president came and spoke before the House and the Senate, and one of my colleagues got up and challenged him, we didn't know he was going to do that. Because really, when they took him out, all of us should have gone. We think that Republicans plan. We don't. We try to play by the rules. And sometimes that just doesn't get us where we need to be.
Well, some of the bottom line concerns here relate to, is the Democratic Party en masse, en toto, getting the message that activists from the field are sending? Right now, we're doing the work. We don't see the work they're doing, is the message that we hear very often.
Yes, we know how much the activists are being helpful. We understand that these organic demonstrations really are not organic. They're planned. They're people who are organizing and collaborating and moving. But I don't know what you mean when you say we're not doing the work. What is it that we're not doing?
I'm reflecting a lot of comments that I've had from people, that we've had from all over, that we read about. It's not that people do not support efforts by the Democratic Party, but very often we do not feel heard because we do not have direct input. That's how we feel. This is direct input.
Yeah, you know,
this is direct input.
And this is why you see so many of us out
Yes.
in town halls. And this is why you're gonna see, we're gonna get you.
Yeah.
We're gonna get you to answer your question, I
Definitely.
promise you, sir. That's why we're trying to be on every platform, Instagram, whatever else there is, Facebook and everything else. That's why we're doing these things. That's why we're even going into Republican districts and doing town halls. Because we want to connect. We want to hear what you have to say, but you need to hear what, there are rules that you do have to abide by, except for the President of the United States and his cabinet. And unless the Department of Justice is going to do its job, and we know what the Department of Justice has right now, it has his flunkies in it. So it's got to be the people. And so Democrats are trying to connect with the people. That's why I'm here tonight. That's why Bernie and Alex are all over. That's why Ro Kahana's all over. That's why all of us are trying to get out there and meet with the community so that we can get you to understand that we need you behind us, we need you in front of us, and we need you pushing us. And so I'm not upset when you call me out, if you don't think I'm doing enough. You actually embolden me to say, look, I had 500 people at a town hall, and they're upset because we're not doing enough of this, or we're not doing enough of that. We need to make sure that we're better in communicating what we're trying to do. We also need to ask for your help. We are in the minority. We are working with Republicans who have given up every single solitary ounce of power and authority that they have in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. And so it is difficult to amass the kind of pushback that you want without the people on the outside pushing further.
I want to say something about that. Senator Booker met with Indivisible's statewide coalition last Friday, and they said, we need you to do something. And that is the night that he started, I guess it was the Friday before, that was the night that he started his 25-hour filibuster. So I don't know if that's what caused that. I'm sure he was thinking of it beforehand, but it does make a difference. And Congresswoman, tell me, do they log the calls that come into your office? Do you hear from the constituents when we call your office? So when I tell my members to call the office and tell you what we're concerned about, even if we agree with you, is it important to hear from us?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Because then I go and I report back that I've heard from X number of people around a certain issue. And they're looking to see what we're doing on it. So yes, do call.
Thank you very much. That's a fabulous message for us. Thank you. This is the gentleman.
Hi, Congresswoman.
Hi.
I'm so happy to be here and to be here. And I guess I should apologize because I have not been as active as I should be over the years. And so that's my fault. And I think a lot of people here should be. So I'm willing to say, you know, if I make a mistake, you know. So I have a question here. I'm sure you probably received emails about this. So this is in reference to Trump's tariffs. So it's not just that Trump is declaring tariffs. In the White House website, Trump has declared a national emergency on April 2nd. Okay, and he used that to declare the tariffs. Yeah. So my understanding is that the Congress can invoke the National Emergencies Act of 1979 and to require the president to specify legal basis for exercising the emergencies. So just want to respond on that. And again, I hope you're familiar with that. You probably received emails and from that. So that's part one. And part two is, yes, there's, just like I admit, I haven't been as active. Definitely the Democrats have not had the leadership. We've known about Project 2025 for a couple of years now, at least. This is something all of a sudden. We experienced the Trump first term, 2017 to 2021. We know what he was all about, okay? So saying we were surprised, I just don't accept that. I can accept saying we made a mistake. I can accept that. But I can't accept, oh, well, it's a surprise. It just came out of nowhere. We were prepared for this. You had years to prepare for this. That's my concern. And I do appreciate your years in office. You know, I did vote for you.
Thank you.
You've done a lot of great work in, you know, New Jersey. But, you know, I'll tell you what, I worked in different industries. I developed a trade as a teenager. I worked for myself for a while. I worked blue collar. I worked sales and marketing. I became an engineer and then a scientist. Okay, I'm constantly growing and changing and adapting. That is something that has been missing in the Democrat, is that they're not adapting. Schumer since 1935, and he's dealing with Gerald Ford. That is a huge problem.
So let me answer the first question. The answer to that question is it takes 218 votes. That's all we need. because Republicans are not going to invoke anything that holds this president accountable, and there's nothing that a minority can do that will change that. So if we're talking about taking back our power, then we do it either through the constituents in those red states, getting on their members in Congress to take back their power, or we wait until the election of the House of Representatives and the Senate next. And then we have to show up in a way we haven't shown up before. With regard to being active over the years, I don't think any of us have really felt the need to be really active, except for like maybe in women's issues. The reproductive issues have been very, very hot. No one was surprised by 2025. We knew it existed. I think the only thing we're surprised by is the cruelty of the leadership and the desire to just go as low as you can and be as hurtful to the most vulnerable. I think that that's even beyond 2025. Now, I think that, you know, I hear a lot, well, why don't you all have a manifesto? I think we were trying to operate from the work that we were doing, particularly under the Biden administration, even in the Obama administration, that set forth the values that we thought were important. From manufacturing to jobs, to women's rights, to expanding health care, to making sure that prescriptions were affordable, health care was affordable, to building housing, to working on jobs. People like me have bills in, like guaranteed income and guaranteed jobs, bills, profit sharing jobs. We thought that our work was speaking for us, but I think that what we've missed the mark on is to kind of like codify that into something that we can hand out, and you can read. And we're aware of that, and people are talking about that, particularly the Progressive Caucus.
Everybody, just a minute. The simplest thing I recommend here is that the
No one can hear you when you don't have the microphone.
Okay.
No one can hear you.
Well, okay.
No one online can hear you, and people in the back can't hear.
Thank you very much. All I'd like to suggest is that the Democrats, the congressional and Senate committees, organize a shadow cabinet. I believe I heard that somewhere, and I think it's very effective for the opposition to have such. RFK says something, the Democrats have someone who is ready to speak to HHS.
I know that I know we're doing shadow hearings. We're even proposing to do them in committees that wouldn't ordinarily be doing them because they generally work in a bipartisan way. This whole issue of shadow cabinet is very interesting, and it's something that we should talk about, because we should use any tool. Now, there are people in our caucus who are particularly versed on certain issues, like Frank Pallone, anything energy and commerce. You see him coming out on it immediately, or Richard Neal in Ways and Means, things like that, or Hakeem. But to organize that's an opportunity, that's a challenge, and we should talk about that. Thank you.
I'm gonna add, there's someone online. Kip, are you able to unmute yourself? You have about 3 seconds.
Yes, I think
Okay, go
I
ahead.
think I'm unmuted. Okay, so I think that looking at real world issues is maybe helpful. We talk a lot about the $180 billion to be cut from Medicaid, but we don't talk about the real world as to what that really will mean. And I think we need to talk about that. In 2023, there was a nursing facility in Princeton that was shut down. It had 119 beds. It was called Princeton Care Center. It was on Bunn Drive. And it was very sudden. It went financially down under immediately. It laid off all of the people there. The families were all called and told to come retrieve their loved ones. They got no help finding new places for their loved ones. They just had to come, grab them, and try to get them someplace. It was chaotic, it was terrible, and that was just one little example, I think, of what's going to happen if the $880 billion is cut. And I think we need to make these examples real to people so that they really understand what a bad situation we're in. Thank you.
I have a couple of statistics that speak to the reality in New Jersey, even in the 12th Congressional District. There are about 125,000 people who are enrolled in Medicaid and in CHIP, and that's the child health care program. 20,000 children are under the age of 6. In New Jersey, 60% of the people in nursing homes are Medicaid beneficiaries. So she's telling you the absolute truth about what happens. Our nursing homes will shut down, our elderly will have nowhere to go, and our families will not be able to take care of them either. This is real world stuff. Our and Medicare and the Affordable Care Act are all under siege under this administration. So that means that in order for you to have health care, it's going to cost you more. It could cost you up to $1,400 more a year. It could cost you even more than that, depending upon how much they cut. And everything that they're trying to cut from these very vital programs that have to do with life and death is to save money so that they can give billionaires tax breaks. And that's unacceptable.
Your name, sir?
Stanley Smith.
Stanley Smith would like to ask you a question.
I want to announce that Assemblywoman McCoy is here. Yes, sir.
Okay, the question I have is there any way in which we can find out who the supporters of Donald Trump are? For example, all these billionaires that are friends of his, and I assume exerting some pressure, I don't know who they are. And to the extent that we can find out who they are and what financial connections they have, that perhaps we can begin to boycott some of the financial opportunities and assets that they have. But we need to know the names. That would be something that I think your caucuses could provide us with.
You know, a lot of that information has been shared on Facebook. A lot of the large corporations, the majority of the large corporations. Not only are we dealing with the large corporations, we're dealing with the large media operations too, that have given him millions and millions and millions of dollars. I mean, we know about Tesla, Elon, you know about Jeff Bezos, you know about
Zuckerberg, Mr. Pillow Guy.
Oh, yeah. I threw my pillow out. So that information, you can get it in a number of ways, but it's pretty telling. As a matter of fact, there was a day of action where they asked us not to purchase from certain merchants,
Mayday is the next one.
But that was like, not enough.
The People's Union, right. How are we doing on time, Congresswoman?
I don't know.
We're in a fight. We can start winding down, I guess.
All right.
Yes? Do you
Okay.
still want to take some questions
Yeah.
openly? Please.
Do I need the mic?
What can we do, or what are the feelings about the Supreme Court, and what, if anything, because I consider myself to be a resistance fighter, and I think everybody should get that in their head. We're all in the resistance. What can we do with the judiciary is writing to the Supreme Court, this Ava person that's now our federal judge here in New Jersey who's investigating Murphy now. What can we do with those situations, if anything?
Nothing easy. But I do think that the district courts have been kind of point on stopping the unilateral firings that are taking place, the unilateral access to data, and closing offices and departments. The Supreme Court, you don't know where it's going to land. Right now, he's in violation of a Supreme Court mandate to release Mr. Garcia. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this court system works through this. Because it would normally work through it with the Department of Justice. But the Department of Justice is not any help right now. My understanding, I'm not a lawyer, but my understanding is that under certain circumstances, the court has access to, like, deputize marshals of some sort that report to them that could
people off the street.
Take a hold of the folks that are responsible for not following the rule of law and not following the Supreme Court decision here. But we don't know if it has the will to do that. That is why, I know I sound like a broken record. I know, I'm so sorry. That is why we are all so important in this effort, to be the resistance. We've got to be the physical resistance. I also think that the courts respond to what they see in the communities as well. They're not immune to not taking notice of how the people are responding. I'm not going to be the one that...
You said also that that we need to wait for an election. We have this minority in the House, which is a true challenge. But they can't lock all of us up, but they can certainly choose who goes first. I am transgender. My license has an X on it, and I am scared, and I cannot get an appointment to get a real ID. So there are no appointments in New Jersey for real IDs. And I can't wait for an election. My wife can't wait for an election. What is being done within the House to connect with that learned helplessness of we are a minority, we can't do it, to reach out and not communicate that helplessness back to me? So
I appreciate your issue, your concerns. I also hope that you'll let me use them as I am moving forward. I don't mean to tell you to wait. That's why I'm here tonight, because I want us all to stand up to the bullying and the abuse of power that is taking place right now. I don't think we have to wait until the election if we can get the constituents in the states that voted for Donald Trump to understand how these issues, how their proposals, how their EOs, their executive orders, are hurting them in their kitchen, how he's not lowered costs, but he's increased the cost and perhaps has interfered with the supply of the things that you need. I don't think that we have to wait. I think that we have to energize and mobilize more in other places. And I hope that when I come talk to my neighbors and my friends and my constituents in New Jersey, that they're talking to theirs in North Carolina and Georgia and Florida and other places, because it's going to take all of us to stand up and to let those folks that we have already voted for know that if you're not willing to use the power of your office on behalf of those who need it, then we're not going to elect you again. And it's as simple as that. You'll see a change in behavior if those folks think they're going to lose their job. If they fear their constituents more than they fear Elon Musk's money, and they recognize that he lost that important election in Wisconsin, that's what we have to stand for. That your money does not buy our morals. Your money will not buy our vote, and you'll not scare us into voting for you if you're not doing your job for us.
The mic? Oh, okay.
Hi, Congresswoman. My name is John Krastek. I'm a resident here of Cranbury, so thanks for coming to our little town tonight. I'm also a federal scientist. I work for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. We have a laboratory here in your district over on the Princeton Forestal campus. I'm not sure if any of you are aware of that. We have 300 workers over there, 108 federal employees, the rest are university and contractors. We're facing an imminent closure of our laboratory. We work with weather. We look at the weather tomorrow, we look at the weather a week from now, we look at the weather seasons to decades to centuries from now. So if you care about the weather, if you care about tornadoes, hurricanes, coastal flooding, thunderstorms, wildfires, we're on it. And we're providing the information for the forecasts that go into the National Weather Service, the National Ocean Service, and ultimately make it to your phones and what you do in a daily fashion. So for afters, thank you. We were founded 74 years ago, and never have we faced the threat that we face tonight. Our lab could close tomorrow. I recognize that the New Jersey delegation put out a wonderful letter today to Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, but we need more, and we need more soon. I just want to point out, as we talked about it earlier, that the unprecedented nature of the continuing resolution has provided the Secretary of Commerce with unprecedented ability to move money around within the Commerce Department and within NOAA to execute Project 2025. You look at what is said there, the zeroing out of the OAR line office is exactly what they said they were going to do, and they're doing it here in our district. So I wanted to let you know that a number of folks from our laboratory are here tonight, and we're counting on you. We know that it's a very difficult road. We thank you for everything you've done, but we need more. And I also want to ask you, if it's not us, it's going to be more. We have Princeton University. We have Rutgers just up the road. There is an assault on knowledge. What are we doing about that?
For the work that you all do. And yes, we did send a letter. And yes, we are going to have to talk about this in our appropriations meetings. I can't promise you anything. That's why it's so important that people are standing up. Because it's not just the laboratory here. I think I was advised that there are laboratories in Colorado and other places. There are like 10 or so around the country. Well, some of them are in places that need to ramp up and speak up on behalf of this important work. Because anything that says science and anything that says climate, this administration has an aversion to. And that puts us all in danger. So I can tell you that to the extent that we have the capacity, we will keep pushing on this and demanding answers and hopefully create enough disruption that they slow it down.
Thank you.
We're gonna finish up. I know you're probably getting tired like all of us. Finish up with one last question and then we'll have you make a closing statement.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. I'm Peter Economou. I live in Monroe, down the road. We're all angry. We're all scared. We're all frightened. But I'm sure, like a lot of you, I am enraged at what's going on. And I would like to see, it would be very helpful, I think, not only to me, but probably to everybody, if we saw some passion from our democratic elected officials. It would help enormously to know that all of our elected officials are as angry and as enraged as we are. And one other thing I want to say, we have Hollywood on our side. Why the heck don't we have some Hollywood directors and writers do a public relations? This is what they're good at. We need them to get up and come up with some kind of a plan that the Democrats can use to counteract this Republican noise machine.
Well, I am certain that Ken Burns and folks like him are logging, chronicling what they're seeing. And hopefully that comes out in documentaries and things of that nature. And yes, there are other...
Yeah, sorry, Congresswoman, we can't wait for a documentary. We need a public relations program now that they will hand out to every Democratic elected official, telling them, giving them the key points, the most important things to stress, like this closure of this
laboratory.
The lab, like the closure of this nursing home, things like that. It's got to be brought down to the people, as you said, where it's going to happen to them.
So, yeah, so let me just say this. I'm as angry and as upset, and I'm heartbroken. And there are times when I go to my apartment in DC, and I'm as flat as a pancake, because I see what is happening. And I keep questioning my husband, what more can I say? What more can I do? We're trying to be on every platform to inform everybody, everywhere, wherever we can. Follow us, and call us. If you're not getting enough information, if you don't think that I am passionate about this hatefulness, then you don't know me. I just haven't cussed.
I think I would like to see this passion when you are being interviewed by NJ12 and all of the other news outlets. That's what I want to see, someone who's really angry. And because people see that.
I would tell you that the majority of the members of my caucus are very upset, are feeling very challenged to try to communicate enough to the people in their communities, trying very hard to get people motivated, to get other people motivated. We know how bad this is. We probably know more about how bad this is than we're sharing publicly. I don't think that we're moving into a dictatorship. I think we're in one. And I have used that in my interviews. This man is a dictator. He is evil. And they try to find how evil they can be towards those most vulnerable in our society. That's unacceptable.
Mentally, can't we get him out?
We can get them out where we can get the majority of the members of Congress to do their damn job. The people, mobilizing the people that are in their districts. You got us. We may not be exciting enough for you, but you got us. And you got us 24/7, ma'am. But there are other folks that we have got to move to make this change. And this change, we must.
Mental capacity? There's
He
no-
has no mental capacity. He's cognitively impaired, and it's obvious. And then he's got Stephen Miller, who's the nastiest, evilest young man I've ever met, you know, in his ear. So, honest to God, I wanted to come here and bring some hope. So let me give you some hope. I'm a person of faith, and I believe that there is a God. And I believe that there's divine, whatever, interventions, plans, whatever. I don't believe that we have the capacity to change things and won't. And I believe that we have the capacity to change things because the Constitution is about this government of, by, and for the people. And there are rights that we will fight like hell to protect. But we can't do it alone. And I thank you. I thank you for being here tonight. I thank you for bearing with me. I wish I could say we're in for like a good time. We're in for a tough time, but we're tough people. We're Americans. We've been through some stuff. And we can get through this as well. And we shall if we stick together.